And Kei Uzuki, the villain most people misunderstand. Kei Uzuki looks like the perfect final villain for Sakamoto days. He is calm, unreadable, and powerful enough to stand at the center of a war against the Japanese Association of Assassins. He calls himself Slur. He gathers monsters around him. He threatens Sakamoto's family, attacks the JAA, and talks about destroying the assassin world as if every death is simply another move on a chessboard. But that image is incomplete. Uzuki is frightening because there is no longer one stable person behind the plan. He hates killing, yet causes mass death. He wants to free people from the assassin system, yet treats people as tools. And while Sakamoto escapes his old identity by building a family, Uzuki loses his identity while trying to protect his. Today on the Insight Station, we are breaking down the things most people misunderstand about Kei Uzuki and why he may be the most tragic character in Sakamoto days. The first misunderstanding is believing that Kei Uzuki and Slur are exactly the same person. Slur is not just a criminal nickname, it is a constructed identity. The name X turns Uzuki into an unknown variable, a mark that crosses out the existing order. It gives a quiet, frightened young man a symbol large enough to challenge the JA. Kei is full of hesitation, guilt, and fear. Slur has to appear certain. That is why Uzuki can seem gentle around Gaku, Kumanomi, Haruma, and Uda, then turn cold toward everyone else. Those softer moments reveal the human being underneath the role. To the outside world, he is Slur. To the Alkamar survivors, he is still Kei. The conflict only becomes harder to control. Calling him only Slur can hide the point of his story. Slur is the public revolutionary, while Kei is the wounded person buried beneath him. Every new persona widens that distance. The more powerful the name of Slur becomes, the less room there is for Kei to exist as an ordinary human being. And that leads to the second misunderstanding. Uzuki's goal was never meaningless destruction. He wants to destroy the JAA because the JAA helped create him. Kamar was presented as an orphanage, but its real purpose was to shape children into possible members of the order. The assassin world took children without families, controlled their environment, and measured their value by how useful they could become as killers. Gaku, Kumanomi, Haruma, Tenkyu, and Uzuki were not born as weapons. An institution chose that future for them. Uzuki's rebellion is personal. He is attacking the machine that stole his childhood and turned his found family into experiments. His anger is understandable. The tragedy lies in his response. He creates another organization where damaged people are valued for how well they fight. His revolution repeats the logic of Alkamar through assassinations, sacrifices, and disposable lives. The third misunderstanding is that Uzuki was always a natural killer. The younger Kei was reserved, uncomfortable with murder, and deeply troubled by the question of whether killing could ever be morally justified. That is important because Sakamoto Days is filled with characters who treat murder like ordinary employment. Uzuki's discomfort made him unusual long before he became X. Then Asaki forced him into an impossible choice. Uzuki was pushed into betraying Kindaka and endangering people he trusted because the Alkamar children were being held over him. From the outside, it looks like betrayal. From Uzuki's perspective, it was a decision made inside a cage. That does not erase his responsibility. It explains the fracture that follows. Uzuki learns that caring about someone gives powerful people a weapon to use against you. Love and violence become tangled together. He hurts people to protect others, loses those people, then uses the loss to justify more violence. The fourth misunderstanding concerns Rion Akao. The Rion inside Uzuki is not literally Rion returned from the dead. She is a personality reconstructed from Uzuki's memories. She can sound and move like Rion, remember what Kei knew about her, and even convince Rion's closest friends, but she remains Kei's internal image of Rion. We are not only seeing who Rion was, we are seeing what she meant to Uzuki. She was confident where he hesitated and connected with him when he was isolated. The Rion personality says that she exists to protect him, and his mind transforms the person associated with safety into an active defense mechanism, able to take control when Kei cannot endure what is happening. This also explains why the Rion personality can oppose Uzuki. A mental protector does not have to support his conscious plan. If destroying the JAA is also destroying Kei, then protecting him may require stopping him. The bounty placed on Sakamoto is part of this contradiction. It pulls Sakamoto back into Uzuki's life because some part of Uzuki recognizes that he cannot stop himself from the inside. The fifth misunderstanding is that Uzuki simply copies powers. His Takamura persona is far more disturbing than a normal imitation ability. Uzuki does not collect techniques like trophies, and under unbearable pressure, his mind constructs a person capable of surviving the threat in front of him. When Takamura becomes an unstoppable image of death, Uzuki's psyche answers by reproducing that image. But this copy is based on perception and memory. Uzuki remembers Takamura as a rampaging killing machine, so the personality carries that same destructive logic. The stronger the protector becomes, the less control Kei has over what it protects or destroys. That is the nightmare at the center of his ability. Every new identity can save his body while erasing more of the person being saved. Uzuki survives, but survival and self-destruction become the same process. The sixth misunderstanding is that Uzuki survives fatal attacks only because the plot protects him. That his body has situs inversus, a rare condition in which major internal organs are mirrored from their usual positions. An attack aimed at where an opponent expects a vital organ to be can miss its target. It also fits him symbolically. The man whose motives and identities are constantly misread is literally built differently from what his enemies assume. Still, situs inversus does not make him immortal. It only explains why certain supposedly fatal attacks failed. His real pattern of survival comes from a combination of unusual anatomy, extreme endurance, other people's sacrifices, and personalities that emerge when his mind reaches its limit. The seventh misunderstanding is that Uzuki does not care about his friends. He does, and that is part of what makes him dangerous. Uda's sacrifice affects him. His behavior around Gaku reveals trust. His entire history is tied to protecting the children of Al-Kamar, but love does not automatically make someone good. Mixed with guilt and obsession, it can become reckless and destructive. Uzuki treats his companions as family, but builds a mission that demands everything from them. Haruma dies. Gaku is pushed beyond his limits. Kumanomi watches the group collapse. Their revolution consumes the future it was meant to secure. Uzuki loses them because his love has become inseparable from his war. And this brings us to the biggest misunderstanding of all. Uzuki is not Sakamoto's opposite. He is Sakamoto's failed reflection. Both men were shaped by a world that turns human life into currency. Both became terrifyingly capable, then rejected the system that defined them. But Sakamoto's rebellion begins when he chooses ordinary life. He starts a family, opens a store, and makes protecting life the center of his identity. Uzuki never finds that exit. He tries to destroy the system with the violence that created it. Sakamoto's relationships stabilize his sense of self. Uzuki absorbs the images of people he lost until his identity is crowded out. He tries to carry every loss alone and breaks under the weight. That is why their conflict matters beyond who wins a fight. Sakamoto represents the possibility that a killer can change by choosing what to protect. Uzuki represents what happens when a victim can imagine justice only as revenge. And Uzuki is responsible for terrible choices. Understanding him does not mean excusing him. Sakamoto Days created a person who correctly identified a corrupt world, then allowed that world to define every method he used against it. He wanted to erase the assassin system, but the system had already written itself into his mind. He wanted to protect his family, but turned their pain into fuel for a war. He wanted freedom, but built a new identity called Slur and became trapped inside it. Even his greatest power is a tragedy, because every personality that keeps him alive makes it harder to answer the simplest question. Who is Uzuki when nobody else is controlling the body? Maybe that is the real meaning of X. It is not only the symbol of a man crossing out the JAA. It is the empty space where his own identity should be. And that is what most people misunderstand about Uzuki. He is not compelling because he is secretly innocent, and he is not terrifying because he is purely evil. He is compelling because he became both victim and villain, protector and destroyer, revolutionary and product of the system he hates. The question at the heart of his story is not whether violence can defeat violence. Sakamoto Days has already shown us that it can. The real question is what remains of a person after violence becomes the only language they know. This has been the Insight Station. If you enjoyed this breakdown, subscribe for more anime and manga analysis that goes beneath the surface. And let me know in the comments, do you think the real Uzuki can still return, or has Slur already erased too much of him?